In this video, we'll be demonstrating how to install one of the Tusk ATV horn and turn signal kits onto your machine. These kits were designed to provide your machine with front and rear turn signals, a tail and brake light if applicable, along with a horn and rear view mirror. If making your machine street legal is your primary goal, it will be your responsibility to make certain this kit is compatible with your local and state laws. Each Tusk ATV horn and signal kit comes complete with the wiring harness, turn signals, horn, rear view mirror, license plate mount, control switch assembly, tail and brake light assembly if needed, and all the hardware needed for the install. It's important to remember that the install process will slightly vary with each machine. So we're going to start by routing the wiring harness on the machine. To do that, we need to remove the seat, and we'll also pull this front cargo rack to gain access to the battery. After that, we can pull the side panel and then pull the cover piece underneath the headlight. Doing that's going to give us plenty of room to pick a route for the wiring harness. And you want to run it so it's clear of any potential rubbing or heat that could cause damage or failure of this kit. A lot of times you'll find it's easiest to go ahead and run it alongside the stock wiring harness. Now that we have our harness routed, we can move on to installing the license plate mount. This install is going to depend on what machine you have and which kit you received. If your machine came stock with the brake light and tail light assembly, you'll be receiving the license plate mount along with the LED license plate light and any necessary hardware needed for the installation. Since this Sportsman already has tail and brake lights, this is the kit we're going to be installing, and we'll show this install in just a minute. If your machine doesn't come stock with a brake and tail light assembly, your horn and signal kit will include the universal brake and tail light, which can be mounted to the included license plate mount and then installed on the rear end of your machine. The 3-pronged plug will connect directly into the clip coming from the rear end of the harness. So in order for this new brake light to function properly, you'll need to install the supplied brake switch onto your machine. You'll do that by first clamping the supply line to your rear master cylinder and then remove the stock banjo bolt. From there you can install any crush washer onto each side of the brake line fitting and then install the hydraulic brake switch. Go ahead and tighten that bolt down, and keep in mind it will be necessary to bleed your brake system after installing this brake switch. For these steps and instructions, you'll refer to your service manual, and you can also refer to our motorcycle and ATV brake bleeding video as well. Now just connect both leads coming from the switch to each pink lead coming from the rear of the harness. You can also choose to purchase another brake switch separately and install it onto your front master cylinder so it'll activate your brake light as well. These leads will just plug into the red and black wires from the front of the harness. So now we'll get back to this machine's install. We'll first mount the LED license plate light to the license plate mount by following the steps in the video. Run the wires through the center hole in the mount and then run them through the flat washer and nut. Make sure the light is aimed straight down before you secure it in place. And next we'll pick a location to install it onto the machine. We've provided you with hardware to give you a few different mounting options. As you can see, we chose this rear bumper crossbar. So we'll install the provided P-clamps and then bolt the license plate mount to these clamps. You'll want to make sure it's centered before you go ahead and tighten them down. And now we can use the supplied wire lead to connect this light to the harness. So connect that clip to the 3-pronged plug from the rear of the harness, and then run that down towards the license plate mount. And you'll want to run these wires carefully to avoid any possible heat damage or abrasion. Once you have them ran, connect the red lead from the light to the black lead from the harness, and then connect the black lead from the light to the yellow lead coming from the harness. We'll be securing these wires a little later in the video. The next step is to install the blinkers. We offer 2 different styles of blinkers that you choose from when you order your horn and signal kit. Those are the flush mount turn signals and the recessed turn signals. We chose the recessed turn signal kit for this machine, but if you decided to go with the flush mount turn signals, we'll demonstrate this install process first. With either blinker set, you'll want to choose a visible, easy to see mounting location and then double check your measurements so you only have to drill once. For the flush mounts, you'll simply run the wires through the double-sided sticky tape and then peel the inner side of the backing off and stick it to the back side of the light. Now just pick your mounting location and go ahead and drill the hole for the wires using a 1/4 inch drill bit. Now you can run the wires through that hole, and with the mounting surface clean, go ahead and install that blinker. And then repeat those steps for the other 3 flush mount turn signals. Connecting these blinkers will be the same as the recess blinker, so we'll be showing this a little later in the video. So to mount the recess signals, you'll use the provided 3/4 inch spade drill bit to drill the mounting hole for each blinker. Since this is a bigger hole, you want to be extra careful and make sure it's marked out exactly where you want it. And to install them, you want to remove the rubber grommet and then install that into the hole first. Make sure it's seated in all the way, and then slide the blinker wires first into the hole. Align it so that the word "top" is located at the uppermost part of the light. We'll go ahead and repeat those steps to mount the left blinker. Then we can connect both those rear blinkers to the harness. Run the orange and one of the black wires over to the left blinker. And underneath, we're going to connect the black wire coming from the blinker to the orange wire from the harness. Then you want to connect the white wire from the blinker to the black wire coming from the harness. Next, run the blue and the other black wire over to the right blinker and connect the black wire from the blinker to the blue wire from the harness, and then connect the white wire from the blinker to the black wire coming from the harness. Use those same steps to mount the 2 front blinkers, and then you can wire them up the same way we did the rear blinkers. Run the orange wire and a black wire over to the left blinker and connect the black from the blinker to the orange from the harness. Then you can connect the white wire from the blinker to the black wire from the harness. Now you can run the blue and the other black wire over to the right blinker, and then connect black to blue, and then white to black, and your blinkers are now installed. The next piece to install is the control switch, and to do that we first need to install the 2 rubber grommets into the back side of the switch. Once those are in place, you need to find a suitable spot on your bars, and this could require moving some things around to make enough room. Go ahead and install it onto the bars, and then install the back piece, and secure it into place with the provided screws. On this machine, we need to remove the screws holding the headlight housing together in order to gain access to run these wires down the bars. Once you have those wires routed, you can connect them to the harness. The 5-pin clip will plug directly into the clip coming from the harness. After you've done that, locate the yellow wire on the harness and connect it to the yellow wire coming from the control switch. The last wire from the switch is the black wire or ground, and this will plug into the black wire coming from the harness like you see in the video. The next part to install is the horn. This horn comes with a mounting bracket that you can bend if you need to. For the spot we chose, we had to bend ours a little bit in order to install it. And as you can see, we're using one of the radiator mounting bolts, so we'll go ahead and remove that, and then run the green and red push-on terminals coming from the harness. Go ahead and install those onto the horn, and it doesn't matter which wire goes where, the horn will work either way. Now go ahead and install the horn and reinstall and tighten down that bolt. The horn mounting location will be different on each machine, but you just want to pick a place that's away from any moving parts or heat, and somewhere that'll stay fairly clean and dry. So now with the horn installed, we can move on to installing the flasher relay. This LED flasher relay is going to plug right into the clip coming from the harness with the red and blue wires. Once it's connected, you can choose to mount it however you like. Some people choose to use Velcro on the back side, while others will just zip tie it to the machine, like you see here. Either way works fine. The next step is to connect this kit to power. For most machines, the shorter battery leads will be used to connect the harness to the battery. For the machines that have the battery located up front, we provided extra long battery leads to reach to the front of the machine. So this will first plug into the clip located at the rear of the harness with the red and yellow wires, and then we'll run that up to the battery following the harness that we already ran. Now connect both those leads to the battery, red to positive and black to negative. And before we start tying up any wires, it's a good idea to check everything and make sure it's been wired correctly. So first turn the switch to the on position and then hit the left blinker. Both those are working, so we'll check the right blinkers. Those are working just fine, so you can also see our license plate light is on as well. Now you can hit the horn button, and everything seems to be working perfectly. If you did find that you had problems, first double check your wiring, and you can also check the 5-amp fuse at the rear of the harness. And feel free to call in with any questions as well. And now we'll install the mirror into the bar end, and keep in mind some machines will already have an existing bolt that you can use to mount this mirror. This install could also require you cutting a hole in the end of the grip to gain access to the bar end. The last thing to do is tie up all the wires, so we're going to start at the front with the 2 blinkers and then start working our way back. We'll zip tie the harness to the stock harness and tie up any loose wires. When you reach the rear part of the harness, you'll notice we have these 2 pink wires that we didn't use on this machine since it already has tail light and brake lights. So we'll go ahead and tie these up with the rest of the harness. And you'll also want to tie up the wires underneath the fenders to avoid any contact with the exhaust or tires. And now the kit is completely installed, we can reinstall the front rack and the rest of the body pieces. Last comes the seat, and now you're ready to ride. If you have any questions about our ATV horn and signal kit, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-336-5437 or visit us online at www.rockymountainatv.com. Rocky Mountain ATV carries everything you need to get your machine street legal. Thanks for watching.